Level 1. The Volunteer. You are 19 years old and you have never left your county. The war started 3 weeks ago and already the posters are everywhere. Kitchener's finger pointing at you from every wall, every shop window, every newspaper. Your friends are signing up. The baker's son, the boy from the mill, the lad you played football with on Sunday mornings. They are calling it an adventure and part of you, the young, stupid, invincible part, believes them. Your mother holds your face in her hands and looks at you for a long time without saying anything. Your father shakes your hand. He does not meet your eyes. Your little sister asks when you will be back. You tell her by Christmas. Everyone says by Christmas. It is August. You sign the paper. The recruiting sergeant writes down your age as 19. You are 17. He knows this. You know this. Neither of you says anything. They give you a uniform that smells of someone else's sweat. They give you boots that do not fit. 6 weeks of training on a muddy field in England. You learn to march. You learn to fire a rifle. You learn to dig a trench, which seems overly specific at the time. Then they put you on a boat and you cross the channel and France smells like autumn and horses and smoke and something else underneath it all, something you cannot name yet. You will learn its name soon enough. Level 2. The New Man. You arrive at the front in the dark. This is deliberate. Movement near the front happens at night because daylight movement gets you killed. And the army has learned this lesson the hard way. Paid for it in blood at a rate that has not been reported accurately in any newspaper back home. A corporal leads your group forward through a communication trench. Single file. No talking. No lights. You walk bent double, following the boots of the man in front of you. The sky flickers orange to the north. You think it is beautiful for approximately 30 seconds. Before a shell lands close enough to knock you sideways, you reach the front line trench at 2 in the morning. It is nothing like you imagined. Not something military. Not ordered. A ditch. A waterlogged, rat-infested, stinking ditch hacked into French farmland and reinforced with wooden planks and sandbags, and whatever could be carried forward under fire. The men already here look at you the way all veterans look at replacements, with pity and contempt and something sadder than both. They know what is coming. You do not. You are shown your fire position. You are told the rules. Never show your head above the parapet. Never light a cigarette at night. Never trust silence. Silence usually means something is about to happen. In the morning you see no man's land for the first time. 200 yards of churned earth and broken wire and things you do not let yourself look at too closely. No trees, stumps, shapes that suggest buildings the way a skeleton suggests a living person. You eat your bully beef and you stare at it and you wonder what you have done. Level 3. The Private First Weeks. The first time they shell your section, you lose control of your bladder. You are not alone in this. The man next to you, a farmer from Yorkshire who has been here 6 weeks, tells you this happened to him too. Matter-of-factly, the way he might discuss weather. You are grateful for this. The shells come without warning. One moment quiet, the next the air is full of sound so large it has no edges, a physical pressure that hammers your chest and your skull simultaneously. You press yourself into the bottom of the trench and shake and pray to a god you were not entirely sure you believed in until this exact moment. The bombardment lasts 40 minutes. 40 minutes is not a long bombardment. You will learn this. When it stops, you look at your hands. They are shaking. You cannot make them stop. The rats come at night. Enormous, gray-brown, fearless. Running across your boots, climbing over sleeping men. You fight them at first. Everyone fights them at first. You stop after a few days because it is endless and they always come back. The lice are worse. In the seams of your shirt, in your hair, constant. The itching never stops. You have been here 3 weeks and you are already someone different from the boy who signed the paper. You can feel it happening. You cannot stop it. Level 4. The Private 6 months in. 6 months. Men who arrived with you are gone. Dead, wounded, evacuated. One went home with trench foot so severe they took to toes. He writes occasionally. His letters sound like a different world. You have survived 3 attacks. One was a full assault. Over the top, into machine gun fire with the artillery supposedly cutting the wire ahead of you. The artillery had not cut the wire. You do not think about the men who died in it. Thinking about it serves no purpose. The men who cannot stop thinking are the men who break. You think about food instead. Dry socks, the rum ration at dusk. Small things. Deliberately small. The small things are what keep you sane because the large things are too large to look at directly. You understand the front now in a way that cannot be taught. Which sections attract sniper fire in the morning? What different shells sound like? When silence is innocent, and when silence means men moving in the dark across the wire, you are still alive. You do not fully understand why. Level 5. The Lance Corporal. 1 stripe. No ceremony. Men are promoted in this war because the men above them have died. You have 4 men under you. Your job is to keep them alive. This sounds simple. It is the hardest thing you have ever attempted. You check their rifles with a thoroughness that embarrasses them until you explain, once, in flat terms, that a jammed rifle in close contact means a dead soldier. After that, they let you check without complaint. You make your first real mistake 3 weeks in. You send a man on a working party near a section of trench drawing fire. You knew it and sent him anyway because the work needed doing. He comes back with shrapnel in his shoulder, not deep, but it could have been his head, and you know it, and for a week, you cannot look at him directly. You do not make that kind of mistake twice. The calculus of small decisions runs through you constantly now, a low-level calculation that never entirely switches off. This is what command does to you, even at its smallest scale. Level 6. The Corporal. 2 men from your section are dead. The sergeant who promoted you took shrapnel through the throat during a mortar attack. You were 3 feet away. You held his hand while he died because everyone deserves to not die alone. You run the section now. 8 men. You lead night patrols into no man's land, crawling on your stomach through the dark with wire cutters and a club, moving across ground that might be mined. You learn to cut wire in the dark by feel alone. The first time you kill a man at close range, you understand why men break afterward. The distance of rifle fire is a mercy, an abstraction. Up close, it is not abstract. Up close, it is another man exactly like you, wearing a different uniform. On the wrong side of the wire on the wrong night. He had a photograph in his breast pocket. A woman and 2 small children in front of a house somewhere in Germany. You left it with him. You do not break. You file it in the part of your mind that holds all the things that cannot be processed during a war. After the war, you tell yourself, you will open that cabinet. You suspect this is a lie. Level 7. The Sergeant. You are 20 years old and you are old. You know this because of the way you look at new replacements. Boys of 18 with clean faces, and you feel grief. Not for them specifically, for what they are about to lose. You run 12 men. Your captain means well and has the tactical instincts of a moderately gifted clerk. You execute a version of his orders that keeps more men alive than his version would. He has chosen not to notice this. The arrangement works for everyone. You have been wounded twice. A bullet through your forearm, shrapnel in your back, 1 piece still in there, a small cold ache below your left shoulder blade that has become so familiar it feels like part of you. You sleep badly. When you sleep, you dream about wire. Level 8. The Company Sergeant Major. You are the senior enlisted man in a company of 200 soldiers. Your job is to be the bridge between the officer world and the enlisted world. 2 different countries, separated by accent and education and the confidence that money provides from birth. You translate. When the captain's order is impossible as written, you find the version that is merely very difficult. When the men's frustration threatens to become dangerous, you address it before it reaches the officers. 200 men's fear and grief and homesickness pass through you every day. You cannot show that it lands on you. Weakness from a company sergeant major spreads through a unit like cold water through a trench floor. You have a photograph of your mother in your breast pocket. You have not looked at it in 2 months because the last time you looked at it, you had to find somewhere private. That is not something you can afford frequently. Level 9. The Second Lieutenant. The commission came because the army is consuming officers at a rate that traditional sources cannot supply. 6 weeks behind the lines. A real bed, hot food, then a pip on your shoulder and back to the front. The men you used to stand with now salute you. Your old sergeant addresses you as sir. The formality creates a distance that did not exist before, and you understand why it exists, and you hate it anyway. Your life expectancy is 6 weeks. Every officer knows this number. You discuss it with a black humor that is either healthy or the opposite. You lead your platoon over the top in your 3rd week. You blow the whistle and climb the ladder and run into the worst noise in the history of human experience. You reach the German wire and it has not been cut. You make a decision in 1 second that saves most of your surviving men. The colonel calls it good thinking under pressure. You thank him. Then you find a corner where no one is watching and shake for 20 minutes. Level 10. The lieutenant. You are second in command of the company. You make tactical decisions now. Which section needs reinforcing? Whether a damaged wall is worth the men it costs to repair tonight. Every decision has a body count attached, potential or actual. You do the math constantly. You have become very good at it and you are not sure whether that is something to be proud of. You write condolence letters. This is the part that costs the most. You try to say something true about each man. Sometimes you succeed. Sometimes the man died in circumstances where nothing true is also something a mother should read. And so you lie, kindly and completely, and seal the envelope. Level 11. The captain. 200 men on paper. 140 in practice. You are good at your job. This is not a comfortable thing to be. Being good at this job means making decisions efficiently that involve human lives. And the efficiency is what keeps you awake at night. The numbers come before the hesitation used to. The hesitation has moved to the hours after midnight when there is nothing to do. But add up the costs. You drink whiskey at night. Not enough to impair your judgment. Exactly enough to lower the volume. The men under you are almost without exception better than they know. You feel an obligation to them that has no adequate name. Not pride exactly. Not love exactly. Something fierce and aching that sits between the two and does not diminish. Level 12. The major. Headquarters. Maps. Telephone lines. Reports. You write the reports that smooth the rough edges off the truth. 50% casualties becomes heavy but acceptable losses. A failed attack becomes an advance that encountered unexpected resistance. You have learned this language because learning it is how you survive at this level. The generals visit occasionally. Clean uniforms, healthy faces. They walk through headquarters, ask questions, receive incomplete answers, nod with satisfaction, and drive back to their chateau. The men in the forward trenches right now are 19 years old and cold and frightened, and enduring it because they believe the people managing this war know what they are doing. You know what the people managing this war know. You pour yourself a drink. You go back to work. Level 13. The colonel. You command a regiment. 2,000 to 3,000 men. You are no longer close to the fighting. Distance is what rank buys you in this war. Safety purchased with seniority, while the men you command buy theirs with luck. You read reports. Casualties 127. Casualties 89. Casualties to 103. The numbers lose meaning. Units become percentages of fighting. Strength. You make these calculations coldly because cold calculation is what the job requires. But sometimes late at night you remember what it was like to be a private in a flooded trench. At 3 in the morning. The rats, the lice. The cold that came from outside and inside simultaneously. The fear that never fully left, that just changed shape as you rose. That became the fear of the wrong decision instead of the fear of the shell with your name on it. The men in the forward trenches right now are living everything you remember. And here you are, miles behind them, signing papers. The guns go silent on a Tuesday morning in November, and the silence is so complete and so wrong after 4 years of noise that men stand in their trenches and do not know what to do with their hands. You go home. You sleep in a real bed and you wake up swinging at nothing. You eat at a table with a white cloth and your mother asks what it was like and you say it was hard. But it is over now. This is the last lie. It is never over. Not for the ones who came back. They carry the ones who did not, and the silence behind their eyes, and the dreams that come whether you want them or not, and the way a loud noise on a quiet street stops you cold 20 years later, and for 1/2 second you are back in the trench, the mud is real, and the wire is real, and the faces are real. This is what it was like. Every level of it. From the boy who signed the paper to the man who signed the reports. You survived. Not all of them did. Remember their names. Level 14. The man who returned. You step off the train and everything is wrong in a way that is difficult to explain to people who have never had their entire sense of reality rearranged by prolonged exposure to controlled chaos and industrialized death, because the platform looks the same and the town smells the same and the sky has the same indifferent color it always had, but you are not the same, and that difference sits between you and everything you used to recognize. Like a pane of thick glass that no one else can see and no one else believes exists. Your mother cries when she sees you and you hold her carefully as if she might break, because somewhere along the way your hands learned the exact pressure required to end a life, and you have never quite unlearned it. And your father claps you on the shoulder and says you look well, and you nod because that is the correct response, even though you have not slept properly in months, and the sound of a cart dropping a crate across the street makes your spine lock rigid for a fraction of a second before you force it to relax. The town celebrates you in small, awkward ways because they do not know how else to process your return. And you stand in a room full of people who never left, and you realize that they are speaking a language you used to know but can no longer fully understand, because their concerns are about weather and work and minor grievances that once seemed important and now feel impossibly distant compared to the mathematics of survival that governed every waking moment of your recent past. At night you lie in a bed that is too soft and too still, and your body does not trust it, because your body learned that stillness is often a prelude to violence. And you wake at the smallest sound and reach for a rifle that is no longer there, your hand closing on empty air while your heart accelerates as if it has been waiting for this moment all day. Level 15. The silence that follows. Days pass and the world expects you to resume, to step back into the shape you once occupied. But that shape no longer fits, and you try, because trying is what you have always done. But the edges do not align, and there are gaps where something essential used to be. Something that was left behind somewhere in the mud between two lines of wire under a sky that flickered with artillery fire. You take a job because that is what men do, and you perform it adequately, even well on occasion. Because discipline is a transferable skill, but there is a part of you that remains elsewhere. A part that never left the front and never will. And it observes your new life with a detached curiosity that feels almost like watching someone else entirely. People ask questions, sometimes directly, sometimes with careful hesitation, and you learn quickly which answers they can accept and which ones they cannot. And so you develop a second language composed entirely of omissions and simplifications, a way of speaking that allows them to feel informed without requiring you to translate the full weight of what you experience into words that would not survive the telling intact. You discover that there are other men like you. Men who returned with the same invisible fracture running through them. And when you sit with them in quiet rooms or on benches in parks, there is a kind of understanding that does not require explanation, because they have seen what you have seen and they carry what you carry, and in that shared silence, there is a small measure of relief. Level 16. The years that follow. Time moves forward because it always does, indifferent to individual readiness. And you move with it because there is no alternative, and gradually the sharp edges of memory dull in ways that are both merciful and unsettling, because forgetting feels like a betrayal even when remembering hurts, and you find yourself holding on to certain details with a kind of stubborn determination, as if preserving them is a form of loyalty to those who did not return. You marry, perhaps, or you do not, and you build something resembling a life because that is what is expected. And because part of you still believes in the possibility of normalcy, even if that belief is quieter now than it once was, and there are moments, brief and unexpected, when you find yourself genuinely present, genuinely at ease, and those moments feel almost like discovering a forgotten room in a house you thought you knew completely. But the past does not disappear, it integrates. It settles into the foundation of who you have become, and sometimes it surfaces without warning, triggered by a sound or a smell, or a fragment of conversation that aligns too closely with something stored in that locked cabinet in your mind, and for a few seconds the present dissolves and you are elsewhere again, fully and completely, until the moment passes and you are left standing into timelines at once.